It's the Terry Sullivan Show. Today's guest, BBQ Editor of Texas Monthly Magazine, Daniel Vaughn. And now, the man who needs no introduction.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew there was going to come a day when you couldn't figure it out.
Well,
you're not awake yet.
I'm not. I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Well, I would
already.
We're 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's all right.
I was up at 4.
Let me get my violin out. Daniel, it's good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Thank you, sir. I got Daniel Vaughn with us here today. I don't know whether to stand up or bow. I don't know what to do. You're one of the most popular men on the planet, at least in our industry. But it's so good to have you.
Well, it's good to be here.
And you were talking when Terry was playing over there. You're telling me that your 11-year-old son's taking guitar lessons.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, at the School of Rock in Dallas, and so they have a band. They practice every Wednesday, and then they performed a couple of times live. So it was kind of interesting grabbing a beer from the bar, watching my 11-year-old son up on stage at this club.
Did you have to say, just take a deep breath, be calm, do your best?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I just told him, you got your teachers up there, you got your other bandmates up there. Just if you mess up, just keep going.
Yeah.
Like the worst thing is just to stop and freeze, right?
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah. Were you proud of him though?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it was fun to see him up there getting into it.
Well, it's a great experience. When you're 11 years old, you're getting adjusted to being on stage and playing with other people, and it's a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's as big a part of it as anything. Not so much the guitar and learning how to do it, but being confident to get up there and be in front of people and know that you've got something to show the world.
Yeah. Now, do you play the guitar?
No, I'm not musically inclined. I started with the violin, I think, when I was in 4th grade or something, and they kept making us pluck it and wouldn't let us pick up the bow for a while, and I didn't really like that, so I quit.
I play the radio.
Okay, yeah.
And most of the time I can't find the stations I'm looking for. So there you go. So Daniel, you're from originally you're from Ohio.
Yes.
How did you end up in Texas?
It actually looks like an Ohio day out there right now. Gray, rainy, and that's one of the reasons I'm happy to be in Texas is because we have a lot fewer of those days than Ohio does. But I grew up in Ohio, went to school in New Orleans at Tulane for architecture, and then moved here right after. My wife had moved here. She graduated a year before me, and she had moved out here to Dallas. She's from Oklahoma City, so she was moving to a place not too far from home, but far enough.
Yeah.
And I followed her out here, and that was 22 years ago.
Did your parents ever say, son, whatever you do, don't marry anybody from Oklahoma?
No. They just, when we would drive down to New Orleans, we'd always pass through Cincinnati. And they'd say, you could go to school right here. They have a good architecture school right here, too.
Right.
I was like, yeah, but, you haven't spent a semester in New Orleans either.
Did you like it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, architecture school is 5 years, and so I went to 5 Mardi Gras in a row. So that's, yeah.
I've never been to the Mardi Gras, but I've had so many friends that have, and they just, to this day, they just talk about how great it is.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a blur, that's for sure. And when you go down there for a weekend and travel, my wife and I went down there February of 2020. We didn't realize it was the first super spreader event in the U.S. when we were there. Nobody did, but we went there to enjoy it. And it is a whole lot different being there for a weekend than it is being in New Orleans for like the full Mardi Gras season, which really begins January 6th. So it's like, it goes on and on and on for quite a while. You got to have some stamina.
So what do you miss? What do you miss about New Orleans? Well, if you could say one thing.
Well, the food. I mean, the food is what I miss. We don't have that kind of food here. My wife and I will celebrate 19 years of marriage on Mardi Gras Day on February 21st.
Congratulations.
And we were talking like, well, what are we going to do? And the worst thing to do in Dallas is go to a Cajun restaurant because that's what everybody's idea is.
Right.
We have some decent ones, but we don't have anything like they got in New Orleans.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the one thing I miss. And that Leidenheimer's bread on the po' boys. So you can get a pretty good shrimp po' boy around here, but it's the shrimp that's good. That bread just can't compare.
You know, the best shrimp I ever had, I've told people this through the years, but it's true. The best shrimp I ever had was at a restaurant called Ralph and Cacoo's in Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. And then I like Landry's in New Orleans, you know. But you're right. I mean, trying to get good Cajun food here is trying to get good Texas barbecue in another state. You know,
Well, it used to be that way. Yeah. What's funny is in 2022, I write a couple of articles every week for Texas Monthly, and my most popular, the most read article that I had all year was about the barbecue in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. So my kids go up there for camp in the summer. My wife and I and the whole family, we make it a big family road trip to drive up, and then her and I drive back. But there's some really good Texas-style barbecue in Minneapolis, which is crazy to think. When I started this job 10 years ago, it'll be 10 years in April that I've been the barbecue editor at Texas Monthly. And when I started 10 years ago, just the idea of really good Texas-style barbecue in Minneapolis was a ridiculous idea.
10 years now, and you're the barbecue editor of Texas Monthly, a hugely successful and popular magazine. And now, people know you from all over the world. People know you as the barbecue editor of Texas Monthly, and people follow you from all over the world. How did that happen?
Well, yeah, it was strange in Brazil. I went to Brazil last August for an event called Churrascada, and it was just a congregation of barbecue pitmasters in all forms from all over the world that came to Brazil to cook the way they cook. And there were some people who, they only knew Portuguese, and I don't know a whole lot of it, but they wanted a photo with me to put it on their social media. But yeah, certainly having I'd like to think that certainly my personality and my good looks are what makes everybody drawn to me, but I know it's the title, right? It's being the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly. And
I don't want to bust your bubble on that, but I'm sure your wife already has. It ain't that.
Right, exactly. So, I think there really isn't another place, there really isn't another publication, I think, that could even have someone with that title, right? I mean, California is the only state big enough, with a big enough population to have that, but they don't have the barbecue for it, so.
Yeah, but even so, Daniel, you, in 10 years, I mean, you've done so many things for that magazine. Being the barbecue editor, I mean, you've really built it into an institution yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool to get on the Texas Monthly website still and see that there's a dedicated barbecue channel on there for just the things that I write. And we got some more people contributing on the barbecue side as well, which is nice. But yeah, it's certainly something that when I started 10 years ago, I know that the people who in the media who were writing about this strange position never assumed that 10 years from then I'd still be at it, and I didn't really think I would be either, but
you had to have something. I mean, because you were an architect.
Yeah.
And you were a good one. So, I mean, what'd your wife say when you said, you know what, I think I'm going to leave that business and I'm going to go over here and write for a living?
Well, I was in a conference room at Good Fulton & Farrell was the firm that I worked at. And great firm, really enjoyed working with them, and they were really supportive of this transition into writing. But I remember being in a conference room, which, I snuck into the conference room to have my personal phone call with the editor of Texas Monthly at the time, Jake Silverstein, and he offered me the job. And I called my wife, and I said, they really are going to send me a contract and offer me the job. And she's like, well, how much are they paying you? And I was like, why does that matter? They're paying me a full-time position to write about barbecue. And
every wife would have asked that question.
Right. Well, so why are we even talking about how much I'm going to get paid? It was a lot less. It was a lot less than what an associate at Good Fulton and Farrell
And when you
makes.
said that, she was thinking he ain't getting paid for this job.
Yeah. Well, I did get paid for it. I get paid a lot better for it now. But yeah, that was. Those are some real lean years for journalism, and they still are to a certain degree. But you know, Texas Monthly, we're really just getting stronger now, which is
there's no doubt.
Which is unusual to see in our industry, but certainly heartening.
There's no doubt about it. It is it has gone from a local magazine to a global magazine.
Yeah.
A lot of that's because of you. But here's the coolest thing about it: you get paid to eat brisket. Now, how cool is that?
Well, now I have to disagree with you there. They pay me for the writing part, so
But you get to eat brisket.
I get to do all the research for sure. But if I stopped there, they wouldn't pay me. But certainly the greatest perk of working for Texas Monthly is we don't go around asking for free food. I go into a barbecue joint just like I have here a couple of times, get in line, order my food, pay for it, sit down and eat, and Texas Monthly covers all that. So I do get my expenses as far as dining expenses taken care of, as long as it's barbecue.
Yeah. So have you always enjoyed writing? I mean, is that...
No, I still don't really.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I certainly talk to people in my industry who they love the writing part, they love the craft, they love piecing together a story. I love the research, and I joke about the fact that going out and eating all the barbecue is the fun part of the research, but I enjoy all the rest of it as well. I mean, talking to people. Talking to all the different pit masters and people in barbecue, talking to people who build barbecue pits and who harvest the wood that the barbecue joints use to cook. And
I mean, you've gotten into this thing far beyond just eating the brisket. I mean, you have studied this.
And my job has changed quite a bit. The way I do my job has changed quite a bit in the 10 years that I've been here. So if I had written about this place 10 years ago, I would have just came in, eaten the food, and then just did a write-up based on the food that I ate. And that would have been the focus and pretty much the entirety of the article. And I realized a couple of years into it that that's just not that interesting. People want to know if a place is good or bad, but they're not going to remember the details of each individual thing that I ate. Right. What they are going to remember is the story of the people who run it, and the what their motivations were, what their passion was, and how they got into the position of running a barbecue joint, and what really drives them to continue operating a barbecue joint, which is a tough business. The restaurant business is tough enough. The barbecue business is even tougher part of that restaurant business. So what drives the people who do this day in and day out, I think, is interesting to people.
Have you ever just gotten up in the morning after 10 years of this and go, I hate brisket?
No, I don't. There's no way I hate brisket, but I certainly don't enjoy it the same way that I did before. Don't enjoy barbecue in the same way I did before. But I knew that was going to happen.
But Dan, you can. Obviously, 10 years and hundreds of restaurants, tasting hundreds of different types of barbecue and brisket. Can you just taste of one and go, nah, I ain't eating the rest of that?
Well, I can open up a takeout box, and just from the look and the smell of it, I can tell you that I don't really want to take a bite of this, but I'm gonna just to go through with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. As I say to so many people about this job, firsthand opinions are really the only ones that matter. You can tell me that a place sucks, but I'm still going to go there. Like my opinion of it, I have to have my firsthand opinion of it. I can't say, well, Joe Blow said it's no good, so I'm not going to bother going.
And it might not have been good to him or her, but everybody has their own opinion. Sometimes it depends on the day that you go.
Well, and that's why I try to be consistent in my own opinions, right? So that you can disagree with me, and if you do disagree with what I think of a particular barbecue joint, then you're probably going to disagree with me on a lot of them. Right. But if you agree with me, you're probably going to agree with me on a lot of them. So, I know that if I love a place, that there's some people who aren't going to really enjoy it, and if there's some places that people just swear by.
Sure.
I got an email last time we put out our top 50 barbecue list, and it was from an older woman, and she had said, why isn't this place included in here? And I was like, well, you know, we just didn't think it was one of the 50 best in Texas. And here's some places that we do really like right around your area. And she wrote back and just said, well, my husband and I have been going to this place, and this is the only place we go eat barbecue.
Right.
And I was like, obviously my opinion doesn't matter to you. If this is your barbecue place, go enjoy your barbecue place, eat at your barbecue place, and don't worry about what I have to say about it.
I tell you, in the state of Texas, barbecue becomes very personal. Very personal to, obviously, to pit masters and to operators, but to customers as well. And I get that at our place all the time. People talk about top 50, people talk about Texas Monthly, and people talk about, you know, they shouldn't have been in there, but they should have been in there. You know, and I'm sure you get that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's thousands of barbecue places in Texas. Somewhere around 2,000. And
I tell people all the time, Daniel, I say, barbecue places in Texas are like churches. There's one on every corner, but there's not a good one on every corner.
Yeah,
you know?
That's for sure. Yes, and I often get told about this mythical, shack alongside some rural route that nobody goes by, and that's where the best barbecue comes from. I'm like, well, where's that? Which one? Tell me. And it's like always just, it's this idea of a barbecue place. I was like, I've been to a bunch of those, and I can tell you that there's a lot more misses than hits.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question about your process. When you go to, when you're going to a new barbecue place that you've never been before, what is your, how have you derived at your standards of how you're going to judge that?
Well, take Cat's Barbecue down in Santa Fe, which is just south of Houston, for an example, just because it's a place that I've written about recently. And, I went in, looked at the menu, pretty normal barbecue menu, and I want to get sort of a baseline of what they've got. So I'm usually looking for sliced brisket and ribs and maybe sausage or maybe something unique that they do and a couple of sides, just to sort of get a baseline of what they're doing. And if I really like that, in the case of Cats, I liked it so well that I hopped back up, got back in line, and they had a smoked cheeseburger on special, and they had this like ham and cabbage side dish that was the special for the day, and they had a beet of root beer on tap, and so I got an entire second meal to sit down and eat that, and thinking, this is that sort of second level down. And the same place with a place like this, right?
Yeah.
Came in the first time and had several different meats, and then when I came in subsequently, it was really to try some of those specialty sandwiches that y'all do.
Right.
Which, if I come in with a group, it's a little easier to order all of it.
Yeah.
But from just myself to to get a 3-meat plate, 2 sandwiches is
You're lucky you don't weigh 500 pounds.
See, a couple of years ago, people used to say 400, but now they're more careful.
Do you think, Daniel, and you're the only guy that I really could ask this and really believe that you have the answer. Do you believe that Texas has the best barbecue?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think there's anywhere that cares about barbecue as much as Texas, as far as having the high expectations of what, especially a new barbecue operation should be offering. So I think because of that, because of the high standards of the people who work here, the people who teach the next generation how to cook barbecue, the seriousness at which that generation has taken it for any of the new places opening up, and the seriousness at which the customer base has really high expectations of what a barbecue joint should offer. So
if you're thinking Texas barbecue, Carolina barbecue, Kansas City barbecue, Tennessee barbecue, how do you set Texas apart from those cultures?
Well, it used to be that you could set Texas apart pretty easily by saying we're the ones who do smoked brisket. But, nowadays, just about everybody's doing smoked brisket. I went down to the Carolinas and ate brisket down there. Ate a place in Peachland, North Carolina, just east of Charlotte, which was fantastic. Fantastic brisket and ribs, very much a Texas-style barbecue operation. And up in Nashville, place Peg Leg Porker, when he first opened, dead set against doing brisket. Opened a second location, guess what they've got on the menu?
Brisket.
So, that used to be what sets Texas barbecue apart. That and I think the sausage making as well, coming from the meat market roots of especially Central Texas style barbecue. That sausage making tradition is something that carries through all over Texas. It's hard to find a Texas barbecue joint that doesn't have brisket, pork ribs, and sausage on the menu, right? So those things, which I refer to as the Texas Trinity, those are the things you can find everywhere. And that's not the case for most other barbecue styles. But I think today the things that sets Texas apart, and I wrote about this for the Southern Foodways Alliance in their Gravy magazine, sort of laid out my argument for unequivocally why Texas is just the best. And it is the consistency. It is the fact that you can come in, eat at a barbecue joint, and it's going to be great from the time they open to the time they close, if it's a place that really takes itself seriously.
Right.
And I think in the past in Texas, and I think if you go to other places to eat barbecue nowadays, the customer base is still okay with the fact that maybe they had an off day, or you gotta hit it right at noon or at 11 to really get the good stuff. And here in Texas, it's just like, well, if you're open, it better be good.
Right. That's exactly right. You're exactly right about that. So, Daniel, in your opinion, is there a huge difference between Central Texas barbecue and North Texas barbecue?
I'd say there used to be. I think one of the things that we've certainly gained by this spread of Texas barbecue all over the country is a lot of pride in Texas barbecue, seeing how much it's spread across the country. But the same thing has really happened within Texas too, is that what I call the sort of big city barbecue, where you've got lots of different options served on a big tray, maybe some sides that are a lot different than just beans, potato salad, and coleslaw. That sort of stuff, that sort of style of barbecue has spread really throughout Texas as well. And so you get a lot more sameness in Texas barbecue, especially for the newer places that open, whether it's down in the valley or up in the Panhandle.
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say a name. And what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say this? Franklin Barbecue.
Influential. I mean, that is the word. I don't think there's any other place that is more responsible for just the growth of popularity of Texas barbecue. Just the knowledge that Aaron Franklin shared throughout his books, and throughout the videos that he did on YouTube, and all that sort of information sharing, so that the pitmasters that followed could, instead of starting at 0% or 10%, could start, up at 50 or 60%. At least get that head start to honing in their own level of what they might consider perfection.
I agree. I don't think anybody's helped the barbecue industry in the world more than Aaron Franklin. Terry Black.
Terry Black. I mean, I don't know if there's one word to describe Terry Black, but I would say what he has done with that business is astonishing. And going from a little upstart place in Austin, Texas, that's like, why do we have another Black's Barbecue opening? Well, it's not. It's the brother. And,
right.
And I don't think that place opened up with a whole lot of grand expectations. And now they're spreading like wildfire, right? They've got a spot, of course, in Austin, the original. They've got the spot in Dallas, down in Deep Ellum. The newest spot in Lockhart. They're going to be opening up in Fort Worth. They haven't announced anything, but I know they have real estate in San Antonio and Houston as well. So, I mean, they are expanding like crazy. And the one thing is the quality remains. And that's the part that strikes me. I say often that as far as a place that serves lunch and dinner 7 days a week, Terry Black's and Hutchins Barbecue. Like, who else serves barbecue 7 days a week, twice a day, and keeps it at that level of quality?
And people that are not in this business really have no clue how hard that is, how hard the consistency. I mean, you hear people talk about it all the time. Well, I went over here and it was great this day, but I went over, it was terrible. People have no idea how hard it is to have consistency in this business.
Well, and long time ago, I interviewed the owner of Heart 8 Barbecue, and he said that when he first opened up, that first weekend, you know, they opened up on a Saturday, I think, and he said that first day it was just amazing. And it felt like all the big backyard barbecues he'd done. It was thrilling. And then the next morning he had to get up and do it again. And that's when it hit him. Like, I don't get the rest, right? I got to just get right back up and do it again.
Right.
And that's going to be my life forever, again and again and again, you know.
Well, it's hard for people to see the difference between cooking a great brisket one time and cooking 30 at a time, and cooking them every single day.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference there. And there's a lot of great backyard barbecuers out there. I've got a lot of friends that do a great job. But it's difficult to understand how hard it is also to cook for your family and then cook for somebody that's going to buy it.
Yeah, certainly difficult, but also in the restaurant industry, knowing all the different steps along the way from, you know, just starting that fire, opening the package of brisket, seasoning it, or trimming it, seasoning it, smoking it, feeding that fire, taking it off, resting it, slicing it, all these different steps along the way. Not only are you maybe having a different person do that, you're having a different person with a different experience level doing a lot of that, and each one of those is that little inflection point where something could get screwed up.
Yep, you're exactly right.
And if you're doing it in your backyard and you've got your 1 or 2 briskets on and you're able to like watch over the entire thing, and guess what? Your guests are going to eat when it's ready, not when not when the world shows up at the door because you're open. So, you know, just being able to deal with that. You know, as you said, for 30 different briskets in a restaurant,
it's tough.
The amount of times that thing can get screwed up, and then the next one, and the next one.
People don't understand. Time goes so fast. I wish I had you here for 3 hours. But in 30 seconds, let's help somebody. A new guy, new lady, whatever, is going to open up a barbecue spot. The one thing that you would tell them.
Start small. Everything. Small everything. I mean, small staff, so you can, you can have as much control over it as you can. Small menu, so you can have as much control. Short hours, a few days a week, just start small and then see where you can grow from there. The worst thing you can do is open up big and flashy. We've got your PR firm out there telling everybody all the things that they should expect when they come into your restaurant. It's just like, just start small and grow from there.
Daniel, thanks for being here. Terry, let's go, buddy.